Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Puffco Peak Pro dab of the day with a very special Cream City Vapes recycler with diamonds dab of the day. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Today is Tuesday. I want to talk about something very important. Usually I talk about topics that are built out of my situation. Well, this is a little bit of a tangent today. Today I want to protect those people that take care of people that need full-time care. I've been needing care because I got out of the hospital and I was in a great deal of pain. So it's called compassion fatigue that people who care for others actually get. There's nothing wrong with them when they start, but because they put so much effort into caring for others, they get what's called compassion fatigue. And it can be serious, especially if you're a professional working in the field. No surprise that those that have more empathy are more at risk. Compassion fatigue is characterized by physical and emotional exhaustion and a decrease in the amount of ability you have to empathize. It's called secondary traumatic stress. It's caused because you help or want to help those in need. It's crazy, right? It's called the cost of caring, if you can believe it. Well, it is not uncommon to hear compassion fatigue referred to as burnout, but the conditions aren't the same. Compassion fatigue is more treatable than burnout, but it's less predictable and can come suddenly without warning. Burnout usually develops out over time. Because it can arise so abruptly, it can be important for even mental professionals like therapists to protect themselves from this condition. I want to talk about some ways you can prevent it happening to you. And the reason this is happening like this, the reason I'm bringing this topic up is I want to protect Mrs. Stoner from having compassion fatigue. The most common signs and symptoms of compassion fatigue you need to know: chronic exhaustion, emotional, physical, or both; reduced feelings of sympathy or empathy; dreading working for or taking care of another because of your guilt; feeling the inability, irritability, anger, and anxiety; depersonalization; hypersensitivity; feeling unequal; headaches, trouble sleeping, weight loss, problems in personal relationship, diminished sense of career fulfillment. These are bad things. But guess what? You need to cultivate a high self-awareness and understand how these items differ from one another. And the reason is because the coping strategies are so different. So what we really need to think about is, if you're a professional and you're caring for others, you really need to protect your life situation as well. You're very susceptible to compassion fatigue. If you're currently experiencing life stressors at home, like Mrs. Stoner is with me, as well as the workplace, prevention strategies are very important. What do you need to do to keep yourself away from this disturbing situation? Well, you got to practice self-care. Even though you're caring for somebody else, the critical method is protecting yourself against compassion fatigue. Those constantly concerned with the needs of others wind up neglecting their own. It makes sense. Those who practice good self-care are significantly less vulnerable to the stress of compassion fatigue versus those who fail to do it. Maybe a balanced diet, maybe some exercise, maybe sleep. A balance between work and leisure and honoring your own emotional needs can help you. Overworking is often at the heart of compassion fatigue and its first cousin. But taking very best care of yourself includes setting limits. So you've got to set emotional boundaries. It's especially important, and probably done already, for therapists, social workers, nurses, but people like Mrs. Stoner, who's just a spouse and a best friend, has to also set herself some type of boundary so she can protect herself. The challenge, however, is to remain compassionate, empathetic, and supportive of others without becoming overly involved in taking on that person's pain, if it makes any sense. All the boundary does is make sure you separate the person's problems from your own needs. Remember, this situation can manifest itself in ways that will affect the caregiver almost as much as the person going through the pain. So if you're caring for another person, engage in an outside hobby. Find something outside of the caring center, which is a bedroom, wherever you have them, or a hospital. Find something to do with yourself. Cultivate healthy friendships outside of the situation. It's very important. Whether they're coworkers, whether they're friends, it doesn't matter. And you can also release emotions, believe it or not, by just keeping a journal. Taking time to cultivate your own self-awareness and your own personal thoughts can help prevent what's called the suppression of emotions, which can lead to compassion fatigue. You want to ultimately boost your resilience. Resilience is our ability to bounce back from stress. While some people seem to naturally be more resilient than others, resilience is a skill that can be learned and cultivated. It's the ability to adapt and become stronger during adversity. Compassion fatigue is one of those situations where resilience is something that can be learned, enhanced, or boosted, and it will reduce the effects of compassion fatigue as new methods of coping are learned. And you'll use the new positive coping strategies. Well, you might be tempted to wash away the stress and emotional burdens with a little weed and a drink, but you know what? Coping strategies would be the better way. Might include deep breathing, meditation, taking a walk, talking with a friend, watching a funny movie, or even taking a hot bath. You all know what I'm talking about. Because it's important and critical you identify strategies to prevent yourself from having coping fatigue. A support group, taking a break, a check-in with others. It's important that you, if you're going through compassion fatigue, go in the mirror and say to yourself, I'm emotionally vulnerable, I'm significantly stressed, maybe even overwhelmed, so I'm going to consider seeing a therapist or someone to help me process my feelings and implement strategies to help me combat compassion fatigue. So what we're really looking for here is the best of both worlds. Sure, you, I, anybody else in a painful, unfortunate health situation wants to get rid of it. And certainly when loved ones help, we're grateful. But if you love your loved ones, like I love Mrs. Stoner, you need to protect them from compassion fatigue. Take some of these tidbits to heart, use them, they will help you. Thanks so much for watching this video on compassion fatigue. I think it's critical given what's going on in my life right now. If you enjoyed it, if you benefit from it, don't forget to do those special things. Send likes, send comments, and maybe even become a subscriber and join the Senior Stoner family. This is my way of being resilient, coming here and doing these videos in the midst of my pain and recovery. I want to thank you all for being here. It truly helps me. And I want to thank Mrs. Stoner and tell her how much I love her, and she is the target of my focus today. Compassion fatigue. Don't get it. Cheers. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to let them hurt you or make you physically or mentally distraught. Cheers, everybody, and have a great day.